Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Outsiders Fantasy Podcast, where today we are going to go over this past week in WWE and AEW to talk about the wrestling shows,
Wrestling.
wrestling. Um, so it is your favorite host, Cadillac, and yeah, and I am for tonight. Johnny Takeover. So Drew McInspire, he's going to be joining us later. But right now, me and Chad are going to give you the take on this last week in WWE and give you a preview of what's coming up with Takeover tonight before we get on later tonight to discuss the post-show or whatever you want to call it. So we'll be on later. So I'll just go ahead and get us started. So we're not holding you guys back from Takeover tonight or anything like that. So with Raw on Monday.
John, you're forgetting something.
Oh, yeah.
Respect the Stone Cold, man.
My fault. Yeah, everybody. Crack open a cold one. There we go.
Now, let's get this thing going.
And now we can get this started. Thank you for that.
Feel right.
All right, so with Raw, we opened with a big, grandiose celebration of Drew McIntyre, and he had his friends Christian and Big Show and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair gave a touching speech. It felt kind of hollow, but it was a nice speech. If it was a shoot, at least part of it was a shoot. I know Big Show was tearing up.
Yeah. That boy cries more. Well, him and Ric Flair are the most cryingest people I've ever seen in my life.
Well, they got a soft heart, and I like it because it's a little bit different than their on-screen persona.
I wonder if it's Flair's blood thinners. I think they make him emotional.
So they got on there and gave some nice stories, and it's always fun, even if it's worked into the show. It's always fun to hear at least a semi-shoot kind of interview or just like a inside glimpse on their traveling or who they hang out with. I would have never thought that he would have those types of stories. So it's cool to kind of pull back the veil a little bit and see into their real lives and their real personas. But yeah, so overall, I mean, it wasn't the greatest promo that Drew McIntyre's ever done, but it wasn't terrible. Usually I found, at least with pro wrestling, the best promos have a little shred of truth in them. With the great ones like Stone Cold and some of his great promos and things like that, they have a little hint of truth to it. So I did enjoy the opening segment for Raw. And then after that, they had the segment where they were playing poker, and Randy comes in there and just beats everyone all to hell with his fake welder glasses.
With his welding glasses on.
Yeah, before we came on, I actually got Chad actually told me that those are actually welding glasses.
Those are made for the exact opposite of what he used them for. They're for strong flashes of light, and he walked into a dark room and put them on. So he's just swinging a steel chair in darkness.
Right. You might as well just close
If you're going to do that, tape up the fact that it says Miller on the side, which is a welding company. For all the people at home that know this like me, at least cover it up. So everybody's like, what are those? Everybody that's in the military going, yeah, those are not night vision. Those are just goggles.
Right. I mean,
if you think we're that stupid, just put a pair of Speedo swimming goggles on in the door.
I mean, all the money that WWE has and all that they've spent on the Thunderdome and all this other stuff, they give Randy Orton welding goggles, and they didn't think anyone would notice.
Is Orton like Riddick now or something? I mean, but yeah, that was a fail. That was a fail.
It makes me think it was almost like a last-minute ad or something like that. Or
he's got to have something to see in dark.
Right.
Welding glasses.
You couldn't just have him like walk up behind them while they're walking down the hallway or something. You had to have him.
I mean, use the disguise, but I don't know.
I mean, it was
WWE writing in 2020. It doesn't surprise me anymore.
I mean, it was entertaining, but for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because it wasn't meant to be funny, but at the same time, I don't know how serious that they think that it was supposed to be. I don't know. They tried to, I guess, shock and awe or something. I don't know. But you can just tell, like, I don't know. It's not really the strongest string they could have pulled on for that. Or just the way that they did it. It was a little bit.
They were reaching for that one. I don't understand.
Yeah. So the ending to that 2-part promo or 2-part segment made it a little bit empty, a little bit weaker than what it started with. But I think, it's probably just Randy doesn't usually give bad promos unless he has bad direction or something like that.
Terrible writing.
Yeah. So it feels like it was, like I said earlier, then there was some truth to it, but it feels like it was just added at the last minute, just as
they probably kind of figured since we had all these legends on Night of Champions, we may need to explain ourselves on Raw, and they just threw a segment together.
Yeah,
I mean, and then the way this is going to end, they're going to have to put them two in Hell in a Cell because that's the way that you end all these major rivalries. You lock them into Hell in a Cell, and then that's how you end it. So. You're going to have a Hell in a Cell match between those two. That's how you end a feud. You put them in the cell and you're done. I mean, starting back with the very first one with Taker and Michaels, that's how they ended this really long feud, is locking them in the cell. So,
yeah, and taking it back to the history of the cell. I mean, it's
don't put Shawn Michaels in as the special guest referee because somebody's getting super kicked.
Right. You kind of know that going in. If Shawn Michaels approaches the ring, someone's getting kicked in the face at some point.
What's your name, Glenn? I'm sorry, Glenn. I just kicked you in the face.
Oh, man. Not to get off on a sidetrack or anything like that, but when him and Triple H started DX over again, and Shawn Michaels went on that super kick spree, and just to like random people like Stan.
Yeah,
poor Stan.
That was it. But Stan ended up being the perfect 10 later on.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Find something.
Side note.
Yeah. Stan.
Yeah. Is your name Stan? I just kicked Stan in the face.
Right. Oh man, that's such an awesome segment. That's one thing. Just speaking of, just from a straight promo angle, that's things that you miss. That type of creative freedom, because when Triple H and Shawn Michaels get on screen, it's not rigidly scripted in any way.
They had such good, like the second rendition of DX was such great comedy.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That was great.
So we got sidetracked a little bit. To get back on it,
we're wrestling fans.
Yeah, exactly. So Asuka fought Zelina Vega, and they had a rematch from Clash of Champions. For those of y'all that didn't get to watch the Clash match, they were both very good.
That's what I was fixing to say. They were both very well put together, well performed matches. I mean, Zelina, you haven't heard much out of Zelina in WWE, but she is a really good wrestler, and she proved that.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing holding Asuka back is her promos, and I know that's a little bit of a barrier, a language barrier, and it's not necessarily her fault, and there's really no one to blame with that. Yeah. You can tell she has her heart in it, and she tries, but she's
very animated with the way that she does everything. You just can't, the language, like you said, the language barrier, but she's very animated and she acts with her body and her hands and the dancing and stuff. So she's really trying to get across to the audience. She just can't verbally express it.
Yeah. that's the only thing that's holding her back from
Yeah.
getting to that next level. I mean, she can be a really good champion. She can be a really good heel. You pair her up with a manager, or you just make her like the type that rarely talks, the strong, silent type, or whatever you want to call it. And she can really deliver. But putting her
Maybe
in
that's what she needs. Maybe she needs a really big heel push.
yeah, like
I
she
think
had
that language barrier wouldn't hurt her as bad for a heel, you know.
we got Adam Cole, baby, yeah.
Baby.
So yeah, that's really her only downfall. But yeah, I agree with you, Chad. I like that heel run she had in NXT,
Yeah.
where she was undefeated for the longest time and all that stuff.
The female Goldberg.
Yeah, that was a really good storyline. I'd like to see them get back to that, or just change it and just you can have Asuka as a face and just make her one of these unstoppable forces.
Yeah, just make her
Because
run through everybody. I mean,
you need these anchors in all divisions, but especially the female division that's got a smaller roster than the males.
yeah.
You really need everything to not everything, but you need the majority of your stuff to sit whenever you throw it out there because they don't have as much of a representation as the males do.
Yeah.
So there's more room for error on the men's division. With the females, you probably get 2 or 3 matches or something. So you really got to make it count when you get up there. So I'd like to see them kind of do more with it.
Yeah. Yeah. They really, and that we talked about this behind, backstage and everything before, like the stuff that's wrong with WWE. Yeah, whatever. But they don't do like back in the old days. One of my favorite parts was like valets and having like Harvey Whipplemans and stuff like that. I think that would be really good for Asuka. Maybe get her a male or even a female like they're doing on AEW and Vicky Guerrero. Get her a really good manager. But I miss the valets, man. I really do. I mean, they have a couple in AEW and they're doing that right. And then of course, Caden Cross in NXT has got Scarlett. But you don't see they're very far and few between. But that was one of my favorite parts about old school WWF, WWE.
Yeah. And I was actually watching stuff with again, to get off track a little bit, I was watching After Dark, something that Vice does, or the Dark Side of the Ring, and then After Dark. Yeah. And then After Dark's like their little side talk show, and it was real cool to see it from a different side. Like it's always cool to see stuff like that from a different side. But Jim Cornette was on there, and the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, he was on there. I mean, it was really cool seeing these guys, and they can still talk with the best of them. I mean, they look a little bit older, but you put them in front of the camera, and you can just see it light up. And I can't even explain what it is, but it's
Speaking of Jim Cornette, if you guys have never watched his rant at the Dairy Queen, go on YouTube and find Jim Cornette Dairy Queen rant. It is one of the greatest fucking things I have ever seen in my life. It is awesome.
Oh man,
you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, and he absolutely hates Vince Russo. Like he hates Vince Russo so much. He even took time on the Dark Side of the Ring to talk shit about Vince Russo.
Yeah,
and show everyone the restraining order and all that stuff.
He said when Vince Russo dies, he goes, I don't care if they bury him in Sweden. He said, I'm flying up there and pissing on his grave. So when you hate somebody that much, you will travel to piss on their grave. So.
It's insane. And it seems like Russo's trying to let it go, but Cornette's never going to let it.
He's never going to let it go. He's not one of them people that go, oh, I have to forgive them to forgive myself. Bullshit. He goes, I'm going to hate that guy forever.
Yeah. I mean, it makes for some entertaining TV for sure.
Yeah.
But it's only going to end with one of them dying. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way it's going to end. Because Jim Cornette's only goal in life now is to outlive Vince Russo. That's it. That's his only goal.
He looks, to his defense, I mean, whatever gives you that motivation, he looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really good.
Who knew that vengeance, hatred, and cheeseburgers make you look so good in old age?
That's a good motivator, vengeance, I guess. And then so on to back to Raw. So we got the Kevin Owens feud with Aleister Black. It was put on hiatus for a little bit, but they seem to be working out the 2.0 to this match, and Aleister's got.
Why does Aleister look like a hardcore metal pirate?
I don't know.
Why is he wearing an eye patch? I don't understand this.
I don't know, but he's a really great worker.
Hardcore show and got his eye poked out or something. I don't understand.
Probably, I don't know. But yeah, it's good to see Kevin Owens and Aleister Black just kind of exploring their match. It ended in a disqualification. So I think really the only next step, like Chad said, when you put an exclamation point on a feud, it's for an ending.
Yep. Dude, if they do Hell in a Cell with them two, that's going to be a violent match. Them two are violent in a regular, inside the ring 1, 2, 3 match. But you put them inside of a cage or any kind of hardcore match, that's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially with Kevin Owens, he's going to jump off something.
Yeah, that's usually his MO. He's fearless. He's a great wrestler, great talker, great performer.
Well, the way he come up with his body type in wrestling, you had to have that extra something. So he was the big guy that was doing moonsaults off of the top balcony onto people, and he was doing the spine buster and stuff from scaffolding, and so he always has that extra something from the Indies and Ring of Honor. Not only that, but he can talk his ass off.
Yeah,
he's one of the better. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm just a big fan of Kevin Owens.
Dude, I loved him when he was Kevin Steen. He was Kill Steen Kill. I loved Kevin Steen. So Kevin Owens is, I'm still a huge fan.
Yeah, and it's cool and kind of refreshing to see people like Kevin Owens and Keith Lee and Otis and as a big
they give people like me and you hope. No offense.
Yeah. It just shows that
see me on WWE holding the belt. I mean, come on,
man. But yeah, it's
body by steak. I'm body by cheeseburger.
It is really refreshing to see these guys get put to the forefront.
Yeah, it's not like the 80s, early 90s where you got to be a bodybuilder anymore. They are really talented. Every body shape. You got skinny dudes, fat dudes, in shape guys, skinny girls, fat girls, in shape girls. But everybody's got really good talent, and that's what they're going off of. They're not really going by, oh, you are not what the professional wrestler is supposed to look like. They went away from that body image crap, which I'm very happy with. It's just all about, what you do in the ring and what you do on the microphone, kind of thing.
Yeah, and as a fan of sports entertainment on the whole, I mean, really, if that's the crowd that you're trying to truly cater for, like you say, but really at the end of the day, WWE, we got to remember, is a publicly traded company, so they have a certain look that they're going after, and they, it's a lot more bureaucratic than something like AEW or something like that. So sometimes I guess they feel pressure to push certain storylines, but it's really cool when these people push to the forefront, like Bray Wyatt or Fiend, Braun Strowman. Granted, he's looks like he's carved from rock, but if you watch his documentaries and stuff, he gives you a little background into his life, and he was bullied a lot growing up and things like that, and then found bodybuilding, or he found powerlifting and then pro wrestling.
Like Otis proves that if you have any kind of charisma, you can make it in the wrestling business, because he is charismatic as hell. I could see him being a great used car salesman, but I think that really comes and shows through. That's why his character is taking off, because he is like there's people at home like us watching going, hey, he's kind of like me, but he can talk. And, I think that's why his storyline kind of took off, is because everybody's like, oh, he's kind of like me. Back when I was a kid, I used to love Yokozuna because, we lost John. But I like Yokozuna because he was a big, 600 plus pound guy doing moonsaults and leg drops and body slams and all that stuff. Hey, you're back. I was talking about Yokozuna. He was one of my favorites because he was a big 600 pound guy, but he could do anything that a cruiserweight could do. So,
yeah. And then people like Vader and all those.
Yeah, Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, all those agile guys. Vince likes a certain body image, we know that, but it's cool when he puts that aside and just lets these guys work and let them be, let them do what they've been doing their whole lives up to that point, and that's rely on their talent on the mic, and like you said, in the ring. That's where it really counts. At least to the true wrestling fan that they say that they're trying to reach on a weekly basis. If I can speak for all wrestling, true wrestling, pro wrestling fan out there, it's not about what you look like. As long as you sound good on the mic and you can work in the ring, you can sell, you can put someone over without really sacrificing your own character. That's something that's really commendable, no matter what you look like.
I may speak for a lot of wrestling fans. You could be a Greek god bodybuilder, but if you can't talk and you can't work, I'm turning the channel.
Yeah, I can't take you seriously. I'm not necessarily going to turn the channel, but like you lose me at like 5 seconds into your promo. Like if there's any hint of doubt or weakness or anything like that, it just completely you could see it all out there. So it's, I think taking away from kayfabe like they have this past, decade or whatever it's been since they've been allowing the veil to drop more and more on pro wrestling.
Yeah.
I think you have to rely on, I would like them see them rely more upon kayfabe when the cameras are on, because it's like, or even when they're off or something like that. I mean, I know everyone's got their First Amendment rights and all that stuff, but there's just sometimes where you need to keep that kayfabe. I mean, even when the cameras aren't on, like on Twitter or all that other stuff with social media now.
It made the mystique of wrestling more, I guess. Back when we were kids, you knew, you don't watch it. Everybody watches it now going, okay, that's scripted. But back then, you had no idea. The Rock and Stone Cold had their good feud, and they're throwing each other's belts off the bridge. They're like, that guy really drove downtown, found a bridge, and tossed the belt off.
Yeah.
You didn't know that was, set up backstage, and it took them 2 days to shoot it or whatever. So some of that stuff's better left unknown,
Yeah, no, I agree for sure.
What else happened on Raw, John?
So then we got the infamous Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins, Murphy, Aaliyah, the whole Mysterio family kind of storyline going on.
This storyline getting so weird.
Yeah, it is a little uncomfortable at times, but not in a good way.
No, it's in a
um,
cringy uncomfortable. Like when you're at
yeah,
Walmart watching weird people, kind of uncomfortable.
I mean, still Dominic. He's got so much talent in the ring, and that just oozes out of him when he wrestles. It's really obvious that he's a well, at least a third generation. Um, he's just very very talented, and I don't know about his background in the indies or anything like that, but you
He
can
doesn't
just
have
tell.
it.
Yeah, that
He's been
you can
training with his
tell.
dad since he was 21 or 22, I think he said.
Yeah,
And
and all this stuff he's just kind of picked up, but
yeah,
you can see how much Ray and that lucha style has impacted his style. I would like to see him being a taller guy. Uh, he wrestles too much like his dad, in my opinion. And Ray wrestles a certain way because Ray's like 5 foot nothing,
yeah,
100, 60 pounds or something like that. Some of that stuff is just out of necessity that he throws his body around in the ring. So I'd like to see Dominic kind of find his own
yeah.
place.
He could have a little bit more of a brawler style. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
throw his weight around because he is a bigger dude. I like to see some of the moves, but
Mm-hmm.
like I like to see that he does the 619 and he does the frog splash, but that doesn't need to be his finisher. That was his dad's finisher. Find your own way. I understand you're Dominic Mysterio and your dad's Rey Mysterio, but find your own move set. Find your own style. Put a mark on your stuff. Don't ride off of don't ride off of your dad. Just I understand. Yeah, he's a Mysterio and he's going to have a couple of his moves, but make your own way, man. You're talented enough to do so.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to pay tribute to those that taught you so much with the Frog Splash, with Eddie Guerrero and that family.
Just don't be a mirror image.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely still has his own way that he needs to find, but he's getting more comfortable in front of a camera. You can see that every week, and you can see that this week.
Aaliyah cuts a better promo than he does, though.
Yeah, she's definitely talented too. So I don't know what the deal is going forward with them, but yeah, this in a different world, in a different storyline, this might be better. It's just
my 2 cents in on where I think this is going to go.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a feeling that Aaliyah's going to break off, and Murphy and her's going to have Murphy with Aaliyah as his valet kind of thing, and it's with Dominic versus Murphy to get his sister back, or so. I think something like that's going to happen. She's going to break off. She slapped her brother for a reason on Monday. So I think something like that's going to happen, and it's going to be like she's going to disown the family because they don't accept Murphy, or I don't know. There's nothing that holds them back because, I mean, they had a match in 2005 for the custody of Dominic with Eddie Guerrero. So nothing holds limits to these people, so they don't care.
Yeah, but it does make for some reason I can't not watch it when it's on, but I can criticize
the same way too, man. Like some of these things are train wrecks, but that's why you keep watching it. You're like, God, this is so awkward. I have to keep watching.
It almost seems like Seth now, like Seth and Ray, they've kind of taken a back seat in this storyline.
They're like the puppeteers to Dominic and Murphy, and they're just like pulling the strings behind scenes,
Yeah, it's almost like they're in the writers' room, helping the story developing, but they've kind of taken a back seat and let Murphy and Dominic and Aaliyah take on this role and this persona on screen, and I think that's kind of necessary for at least for Dominic, for his development. Yeah, I don't know where the Aaliyah thing's going with Murphy unless you're gonna bring him on the main roster for real instead of just like as a as a stablemate, or for a couple of months or something like that.
Or maybe they have a Hell in the Cell match, and somehow Aaliyah screws Dominic out of winning the match and goes with Murphy. I don't know. I feel like the Aaliyah versus Dominic kind of thing is not. It's not over with. I think they're gonna amp that up a little bit. But like we were saying before the show, that storyline that they did Monday was so unrealistic. Nobody leaves their phone sitting around anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know who does that.
How do you get Murphy's passcode?
Right. It's almost like it's crazy how technology is advanced, but
Murphy must have had a droid.
Right, because nowadays phones are like they lock, and there's just so much going on with your phone. At least with me, with what I do on a daily basis, it's just my phone has to be attached to me. If I go into a different room, I gotta have my phone.
With both of us, we have it attached to us because I could be at my normal job and something sparks and I have an idea for the podcast. I'm automatically, sending you a message when I go to break or something. And of course, we shoot the podcast. I shoot the podcast on my phone. So the phone is with me 24/7 because you never know when inspiration is going to show its head.
Yeah, I mean, it's really true for sure. And then moving on, so Lana and Natalya versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. The thing, this match kind of fell apart to me, but the thing that I want to take away from this, kind of what we've been harping on every week, is stay on your own show. I understand that Miz and Morrison had her traded, moved over to Raw, but the draft is coming up here soon. So I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, because if SmackDown really wanted to, they could draft Mandy back to SmackDown, and I know
his way he'd make it that way.
Yeah. So I know it's all written and scripted and all that stuff, so they can make it go however they want it to. But I feel like this is something they could have built up to a little bit more, or something, especially with regards to Otis's storyline with what he's doing with Miz and Morrison.
It looked like a roster move just for the sake of a roster move. It had no bearing on the story.
Yeah, exactly. And Mandy doesn't really address it or anything like that. It's almost like it didn't happen, and I hate when they do that. Yeah. They just switch gears without any closure of any type or anything. And I know it's not about Mandy, but they used her as a pretty big piece in this story with Otis and Miz and Morrison.
Yeah, it affected her. How does she feel about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is she upset? Is she happy? Like, let us know.
What does she see in Otis, and how can I get it?
I know, right? Yeah. What does she like about Otis, and what gives every fat boy hope in the world?
Right. Just what we were talking about earlier, that image or whatever. They're just breaking down barriers.
Fat guys to the top, baby. Fat guys to the top.
Yeah. And we talked about Aleister Black and KO. Probably one of the most entertaining, and probably always going to be the most entertaining thing of the night, is R-Truth's little moment, his match. I mean, R-Truth is like drank from the fountain of youth. It's just, he's almost 50 now.
I think he's 51. I really do. Yeah.
I
remember watching him when TNA first started in 2002. He was on the very first episode of TNA. It was him. Him and Road Dogg had a tag team called Two Life Crew.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, he's great. He's just a gift to all wrestling fans. I love R-Truth. And it's really cool to see someone that is so still after this many years and everything that he's accomplished, he's still got that drive and that passion to put on a show for the fans. And he's very entertaining, and you can tell he loves what he does, and it really comes forth with something, because this 24/7 championship, I mean, let's be honest about what it is. It's very hollow. It's just something to keep it running behind the scenes on social media platforms, to make it kind of like the old hardcore days where it could just be at any time you can get pinned. But they did kind of cartoon it up for a while with Carmella and the dance breaks and all that stuff. And, you know, and you can see how it didn't derail Truth, because it could have easily fallen apart at that point. I think he's like a 40-time champion now. Something like that.
He beat Ric Flair's record for championships like 3 times over now. So I know it's the 24/7 champion, but Lord.
Yeah. But I think
yes, guys, we do realize we are going overtime for the pay-per-view, but we're talking wrestling, so
sorry about that. We'll speed through it though, so you guys can get to Takeover. So yeah, we talked about Mysterio and Dominic. So the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews, Ricochet, and Mustafa. It was a very good match, like put on wise. Apollo Crews looks a little bit more removed from his. I don't know. He just seems like an ultra baby face, and I kind of like he's trying too hard to be serious. But at least in this match, his storytelling in the ring, it did have a different feel this time.
Yeah.
The Hurt Business is very well done. I know we make jokes about him and how they're like always there, and everything.
They used them right this week, though.
Yeah.
They used them right this week.
Yeah, I agree. It felt really good. The whole group, it seems like it's starting to gel.
It's starting to be a little bit more organic and less force-fed, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what happened with Cedric Alexander. They said he was away training or something like that.
They said that he since he had lost the week before, that we had to send him back down to Hurt Business School or something. So I wonder if he's got the COVID.
something like that. I don't know. Wish him all the best. Hope there's nothing.
I absolutely do. I hope it's not.
Yeah. And then on to the main event: Drew McIntyre versus Robert Roode instead of Bobby. It's nice
Bobby,
to see,
sir. We are Robert.
Yeah, it's nice to see Robert back in the ring.
Glorious.
Yeah, he's still got it. It's like he never left. His hair's a little bit longer, but that's about it. He still can put on a heck of a show.
I hope they don't bury him like they did last time.
Yeah. It was a pretty decent match. I like that they're doing an open challenge for the WWE Championship, and I know it's going to be a cold day before, you know, they let that title really change hands and something, especially with Robert Roode this close to Hell in a Cell and all that stuff. You could already kind of determine the outcome of who was going to win that match, but it still had me invested. You know, it just the glorious DDT, the future shock. It's cool to see these standard moves get implemented as finishers and how well these guys can sell these. One thing that we've mentioned in past episodes that I kind of want to bring back is the one beef that I do have is just how finishers aren't as sacred now as they were in the past. Now, granted, I don't want to go like 3 weeks without seeing some finisher, but at the same time, I don't want to be able to call it, you know, as soon as they do a finisher and it's only been like 7 minutes into the match, just, you know, oh, they're only like halfway through. Like, you can pretty much like call most of these. Now, granted, WWE will throw a curveball every once in a while. but for the most part, you can kind of tell when it's been a little too rushed and when it's not time for that finisher to really stick. And then when it's go home time almost, you can kind of set your watch to it most of the time, at least on the Raw and SmackDown. So that's really the only beef I had with it.
Yeah, I'm not getting political whatsoever. But can we make finishers great again? I'm not worried about the rest of it. I just want finishers to be good.
Yeah, I agree. And when those kickouts do happen, that makes the finisher more. When those kickouts happen, they make the finisher less credible. So, but it's a fine line, because if you don't do that every so often,
well, there's a storyline to it. If you're gonna kick out of a finisher, it's got to be in the main event or a conclusion to a rivalry in a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You can't kick out of it on a regular Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or NXT. It's got to be on a pay-per-view. That's how you build a story. Not only are you wrestling, but you're telling stories here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just kick out of it on a regular, unless you guys are starting a really hot feud on Mondays. Don't kick out of a finisher. The finisher is why they call it a finisher. It ends it. It's done. 1, 2, 3. So stop kicking out of finishers.
Yeah, and that's why they have a signature.
Exactly. The signature you can kick out of. But when he gets you with the finisher, it's done.
Yeah.
It's not called the maybe finisher. It's not called the 2.5. It's called the 1, 2, 3. It's the finisher.
The 2.5.
Yeah.
When they bring it home, they're supposed to bring it home, not stop at Dairy Queen like Jim Cornette.
They stop. Right, we're going to bring it home, but we're going to have you stop at the driveway first, like at the very front, and then we'll bring it home. Okay.
Yeah. But I do like the Glorious DDT. I like the Future Shock. I'm a DDT type of fan. So just to see the different variations that these guys come up with for the same moves, it is pretty cool. But yeah, that was a pretty decent match. Robert's a very good worker, and he knows how to be put in those title pictures. So
he was a great TNA champion back in the day. He carried that company for a long time.
Yeah. And he really did help with that rebuild of NXT.
Absolutely.
He was a big main staple on NXT at that time.
He helped build a lot of guys too. I mean, he's one of the reasons why Balor got as big as he was.
Yeah. It's two really well put professionals in the ring together, and I like how they're making the WWE Championship what it lacked when Brock Lesnar held it. They made it, yeah, exactly. They made it the forefront of the storyline. So I'm glad to see the champion being a fighting.
That's the reason you're on the show, or you're at Raw, or you're at SmackDown. You want to become the WWE champion, or you want to become the Universal champion. But when Brock Lesnar's the champion, you never get a shot to it. So I think it's great that they're doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I do too. All right, and so you want to move on to AEW and NXT this week?
So AEW, good show. They're starting to build up for a pay-per-view called Full Gear. But they threw me off a little bit this week. Some of the matches they had should have been saved for the pay-per-view. They had Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin to start the show off. It's a very intense match. These guys have been back and forth for weeks. It started back out at the All Out pay-per-view where they were doing their Battle Royal. They threw Darby Allin in a body bag full of tacks and power bombed him right over the top rope. So,
good thing you can't feel pain.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right?
We should have never gave him that persona, because they're just
going to beat the hell out of him when he actually does get hurt. Going, ooh, that blew that one all to crap.
Yeah.
It's a cool storyline, but why do the match on a regular Wednesday night Dynamite? I don't understand. You could have built this up for a couple more weeks and finished it out at Full Gear in a steel cage match or a hardcore match or throw my limp body off of a scaffold match. I don't know. Whatever your gimmick that you want to use that week.
Skateboard match.
Do what?
A skateboard match.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get that, it's I'm gonna impale you with a sword match to finish the route. I don't feel pain.
I mean, that's really all they could. That's why I don't like his persona that he can't feel pain.
Yeah,
or
see, that's the thing. That's the only way you're going to be able to finish that is you have to kill him. You have to literally murder him on TV. Darby Allin has finally been proved that he can hurt because we decapitated him on TNT.
Right. It's like Deadpool.
But then Brian Cage comes out to attack Darby Allin during the match. But Will Hobbs stops him. So they're setting up a little bit of a feud between Brian Cage and Will Hobbs. So next week on Dynamite. So for those of you who don't know, Brian Cage has the FTW championship that Taz carried at ECW. Taz kind of bestowed that honor upon him, kind of like they used to do with the $1 Million Championship. So now he is the FTW World, which for everybody that's listening is fuck the world.
It's a family show.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, fine. Sorry, freak the world. But yeah, that's for the FTW belt next week. So that'll be a good match. Two really big dudes, two tanks going at it.
Yeah.
So Darby Allin picks up the win. He does the coffin drop where he just does like this and falls back on the guy. Like, I understand it, but he could just easily take one step out of the way and then you just fall on your head. But anyway,
Darby Allin's like paper thin. So, I mean, like, how is that really going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that it's predetermined and scripted and all that stuff, but there's got to be a little bit of
some realistic something to it.
Yeah.
Cody comes out and cuts a really emotional promo about, he's glad to be back. He's glad to be the vice president of the company. Brody Lee challenged him to a dog collar match last week for the TNT title. And then he starts doing this promo, and then all of a sudden he goes, as the vice president of this company, my answer to that is I have to say no. And then he starts walking up the ramp, and then he turns around and looks and then walks back, and he's like, no regrets, no this, I accept. So it's kind of a weird promo. I don't understand why they did it that way, why he had to leave the ring and then come back as a different mindset. I don't understand. Yeah. But anyway, they did this really big, get ready for it, kerfuffle with with him and Brody Lee in the ring. Yes, kerfuffle. Do y'all remember the John Cena and Brock Lesnar when they were getting ready for the Extreme Rules match where they had the whole entire roster was breaking them apart?
Yeah.
That was kind of the same with this. They kept breaking loose and jumping over and hitting each other, and then they get them separated. Then they break loose again. It seemed like it went on for 15 or 20 minutes. But they're going to have a dog collar match next week for the TNT title. Then you have FTR versus SCU, which is Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
Really good match. It was just kind of a filler match, too. FTR wins, but they win in the most heel way ever. Scorpio Sky was going to kick out, and Tully's on the outside and holding his leg down, so he can't kick out. And they win 1, 2, 3. So they're doing the heel things really good. Winning, heel ways. But they announced that they're doing an 8-man tournament starting next week. That the number one contender the last 2 remaining people will have a match at Full Gear for the number one contendership to face either Jon Moxley or Lance Archer. Whoever wins the match, I think that's next Wednesday. Don't quote me on that. I know Lance Archer's been diagnosed with COVID, so I don't know if they're going to have that match next week. But it's supposed to be for the anniversary, so we'll see on that one. But they named 3 people that are going to be in this match. Out of the 8, they have Jungle Boy, Ray Phoenix, and Kenny Omega. So there's your first 3 of the 8. They're gonna start this this 8-man tournament. So right after that, you have Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party versus Chris Jericho. This was a really cool match. Isaiah Cassidy looked really good. I mean, he got all of his shit in. He made Jericho do the comeback, and it was really nice. It ended weird. So you've got all the wrestlers around the ring right now because they're playing the audience because nobody's allowed into the arenas right now. Well, Luther and Simpatico, or I can't pronounce his partner's name, so if I just totally murdered it, I'm sorry. The dude that was standing beside him that's 4 foot tall in a mask. So apparently Luther is a guy that he wrestled with back in his early days in Canada when they were in the Hart Dungeon. So they're setting up a match for him either next week or the week after for his 30th anniversary. Jericho's doing a 30th anniversary on Dynamite for his 30 years of wrestling. So it ended with Luther and Simpatico attacking Jericho in the inner circle and ended in a disqualification. So they're just setting that match up for next week. Next match was probably the match of the night. It was Orange Cassidy versus number 10 from the Dark Order. Really cool match. Dark Order, it was just number 10 and Colt Cabana that came out. And then you had the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. And it was really cool. Best Friends they're kind of pumping everybody up about Cassidy and being like playing his ballet. They helped him take his glasses off and pull his jacket off. So, I mean, they're doing a cool thing with the Best Friends and Cassidy. But it was a really great technical match. I mean, every move was very seamless, very crisp. The timing was perfect. Cassidy is just a ridiculously good wrestler. He is very smooth, very seamless. Everything he hits is very believable. Mm-hmm. That orange punch is the Superman punch on steroids because it's so clean and it's so crisp that when he throws that whole body, like you mentioned, like the phenomenal forearm plus meets the Superman punch. Yeah. It's a really cool move, and it's believable that a little guy his size could knock somebody out with that because he throws his whole frame into it. Yeah. So it's really cool.
And I think that speaks to how great of a worker Orange Cassidy is. Absolutely. Because to wrestle in that type of persona, I can't even imagine how hard that must have been starting off when you first started polishing this character. And granted, he's had it for a while, like before AEW, but this is our first, granted he's been on TV for a while now, but this was our first introduction to that type of character. And now
we've never seen anything like this until AEW come around.
Yeah, but it just speaks to how great of a worker he is, because a lot of his cool stuff, if you look up his highlights and things like that, a lot of the wrestling that he does are with his hands in his front pocket. I mean, he
does it between the second rope or over the second rope dive with his hands in his pockets. I mean, he could javelin himself into the barricade.
And kip ups with his hands in his pockets and all types of stuff. I
couldn't kip up with if somebody hooked me to a crane, but he can do it with both hands in his pockets. So next after that, MJF, and they're doing this teaser like MJF's wanting to join the Inner Circle, or the Inner Circle's wanting MJF to join the Inner Circle. They're kind of playing this back and forth every week. So I doubt we're going to see that, but MJF doesn't need the Inner Circle, and the Inner Circle doesn't need MJF. So there should be no reason for this.
MJF should lead his own stable instead of joining
Exactly. See, that's what I'm thinking here too. So it was a cool little funny segment where he bought all of the Inner Circle members only jackets except Sammy Guevara. He didn't get one, and it was a whole comedic thing. So Jericho's brilliant. MJF is one of the best douchey heels ever. So it was really cool.
It's almost like watching Rock with Nation of Domination. I mean, not to compare MJF to Rock, but at that time, it was sort of similar. Like The Rock was too big for the Nation, but he hadn't broken through all the way. So they used the Nation to kind of catapult him to the front. with the feud with DX and all that stuff. So if they do have MJF and Inner Circle do something, I don't see it being for very long. And if it is, there's definitely going to be that power struggle like Rock and Farouk had. So I'm interested in seeing where that's going, and your updates on a weekly basis and your thoughts on it and everything. So
we're going to see where that goes. I don't know. I have a feeling that he's going to start his own little thing with him and Wardlow. I think that would be better than him joining something else that's already established, because him in any kind of role or faction, he's got to be the leader. If he's not the leader, it's not going to work for him. So I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so the end out tonight, they gave Eddie Kingston the tall order of picking someone to face Jon Moxley for the AEW title this week. And you already knew he was going to pick somebody out of his stable. He's with, it's Eddie Kingston, Ray Phoenix, Pentagon Jr., which I can't remember what they call him in AW now, but he's always going to be Pentagon Jr.
Yeah.
The tag team of the Butcher and the Blade. Well, he comes out with Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. and starts cutting a promo. And then he calls out Jon Moxley. Well, Jon Moxley comes out. Well, of course, Kingston and all of them do the regular heel thing. They jump out of the ring. Well, he's cutting a promo right behind him. You see the Butcher, which is, if anybody hasn't watched AEW, the Butcher he looks like an old truck driver, but he's really jacked. So he's got the no hair up top, and he's got the Hulk Hogan that's like all frayed out, and the big handlebar mustache, and he's big old jacked dude. And he's wearing these white painter's pants with an apron on. It looked like he stole Bray Wyatt's apron from back in the day.
Yeah.
But really cool physical match, but you already knew that Jon Moxley was going to win and retain. So setting up for next week. Hopefully we'll see Lance Archer back, because I want to see the conclusion to the Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, whatever feud it has been. You've only seen the guys together once or twice.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe they'll actually get one match in, but I don't think they're going to finish it there. They're going to end up doing one on Dynamite, and then they're probably going to finish it off at a pay-per-view. So
yeah.
But that was Dynamite this week. Let's go over to NXT. NXT was, it's the show before a pay-per-view, so they're really going to focus on the matches. They're going to focus on the matches that are going to be on the pay-per-view. But for the third week in a row, they start NXT off with Shotzi Blackheart. So they're going to be pushing her for something, because you don't start the show every single week where she's the very first entrance that you see. And that was 3 weeks in a row. So they're doing something with her. And so it was her versus Dakota Kai. Shotzi gets the win. Sorry, I got a little visitor here. But then Cameron Grimes comes out and has a very weird he calls it the Cameron Grimes Stepping Stone to the Moon Invitational. And he brings out these people that nobody's ever seen. So the first guy up, he said he was the 80-pound weight class champion of his state in wrestling. This little my daughter's probably bigger than him. And he comes out and does the cave in and pins him 1, 2, 3. Well, he gets this other smaller guy coming out, but Rich Holland, which is, if nobody knows Rich Holland, he's a former rugby player. He's massive. And he comes out and just beats the holy crap out of Grimes. And that's going to set up a feud between Grimes or Holland, or they're giving Holland a push. I don't know. He buried Grimes in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a good match. It was just, but it showcased, Holland very well, made him look very strong. Then you have a promo for Austin Theory talking about how the Undisputed Era is not what they used to be. They don't have the gold anymore. Kyle O'Reilly, I should have had Kyle O'Reilly's spot in the elimination match. There's no way he should have been there. Well, then he cuts that promo. Then you see Adam Cole in the ring, and he's cut the promo going, y'all don't think that the Undisputed Era is what we should be, we'll go back to our old ways. You know, you can't say anything about us. We're going to get the gold. You know, if anybody mentions our name, we'll make them pay for it, kind of thing.
The Golden Prophecy.
Yeah, the Golden Prophecy. He said the Golden Prophecy will come back starting Saturday with Kyle O'Reilly. It will be the second coming of the Golden Prophecy, as he calls it. So him and Theory end up having a match, and it was a very good match. He made Austin Theory look amazing, which he is a good wrestler, but when you wrestle with Adam Cole, you're going to look good.
Yeah. Adam Cole's like his generation Shawn Michaels.
He is.
Or AJ
If you want to have a good match, book Adam Cole.
Yep.
So
I agree.
Then Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor have a face with. I think they did this to play off of the debate last week because you had the debate between Idiot 1 and Idiot 2. But anyway, so Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor had their face-to-face with Shawn Michaels as the mediator. I thought that was kind of funny. So they talked off where they had mutual respect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started getting a little heated, talking about Kyle O'Reilly's like, well, I went to Europe and you were gone. You had went to Japan. When I got to Japan, you were gone. So when I got here to NXT, then you leave. He goes, you've been ducking me for years.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a little bit of that back and forth. It was kind of cool to see as the interview went on, Finn Balor went deeper and deeper into the Prince character.
Yeah.
It was more darker, more matter of fact going, there's no way you're going to beat me. He said you could use the entire Undisputed Era. I'm going to still be NXT champion when the night's over with on Sunday night. So he's got that really great confidence about himself. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really back and forth match.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a showcase for sure.
So it's going to be amazing. So to close out the show, you've got Candice LeRae and her husband, Johnny Gargano, versus the North American champion, Damian Priest, and Io Shirai, which is the NXT Women's Champion, which is their respective opponents for tonight at TakeOver, which is playing right now. Gargano and I wrote on my notes Gargano and Gargano win because her last name really is Gargano, but Gargano and LeRae win the match. So if it's not to steal a line from Adam Cole, but if that's the prophecy for tonight, you'll have a new North American champion and a new NXT Women's Champion. So we'll see.
I feel like that's really the only place they can take this now to the next level.
And that's the whole thing. They keep building it up as the first husband and wife champions of NXT/WWE. So and that's what happened on NXT this week.
All right. So moving on to SmackDown, if we were to rank the shows or just the overall product, I would still put NXT at the top. 'Cause just from start to finish, women's division to men's division, they just know how to do it, and they know how to make their time count. Because the people, I feel like the roster that they have, they're used to fending for themselves and fighting for their lives, like almost literally with their jobs. So they have to make every moment every interaction that they have with a camera or with an audience or whatever, they have to make it count. Under that, though, I would put SmackDown. It used to be in the past Raw had the superior brand and SmackDown was treated like the stepchild. I don't feel that way anymore about any.
They're the one that's on the major network now. They're on Fox. They're on prime time, baby. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't feel like they're treating any show like the stepchild anymore. They're giving each its individual attention, even though not everything's landing. But
they're doing the right thing. They've always wanted you to see them as different companies or different brands. So each show has a different feel. Raw has a different feel from SmackDown, and SmackDown has a different feel from NXT and vice versa.
Yeah.
The only similarity you've got going on right now between Raw and SmackDown. The reason it looks the same is because they're all shot in the Thunderdome because of the pandemic shit.
Yeah.
But once that stops, you're going to have a different feel on each show.
Yeah, exactly. So we opened SmackDown with Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, and Paul Heyman coming out. Paul kind of giving a semi-cute little starter promo about, working with Roman's family and all that stuff, and knowing Roman since he was a baby and all that. I really like what they're doing with Roman's character. I've been a fan of Roman Reigns even through the corny times where he was being super pushed and just really people were saying that he was being shoved down their throats and all that stuff. I was still a fan of him. I always was hoping for this moment, seeing him as this heel, this ultra heel. But they're taking this character to a dimension that I didn't even think about or I didn't foresee at all. And I like when WWE does that and they take it to a next level. But Roman feels almost righteous, and he's kind of blinded by his quote unquote power or his place at the table. He is brainwashed himself almost in a way into the persona, thinking that it's the truth, the right way, really the only way. He kind of has his own, talking about the golden prophecy, he kind of has his own prophecy on this show. And I really like where they've taken this character, because Roman does come from a babyface background here recently, at least. And I like to see Roman's kind of reluctant to give that whole persona up, so he's kind of drinking his own Kool-Aid and buying into his own his own shtick, that he feels like this conquest that he's going on is righteous, and I really enjoy what they're doing with it. They're not just making him heel for heel's sake. They're giving him a direction, a reason, and potentially, a bigger setup, like we discussed in the past or on past episodes, probably in the next WrestleMania, him and Rock or something. So I mean, you can take this storyline and this character to the absolute top of this company, and you can plug in the biggest superstar, probably arguably of all time, in The Rock, and have him come in the later stages of this persona and this storyline. But as of right now, to put the attention on Jay, I think he's been doing a phenomenal job in this role that he was given. And granted, we all know that Jay's not going to beat Roman, and he's not going to take Roman's title. I mean, if he does at Hell in a Cell, I'll be shocked. But you can bet that regardless of what Jay's role is in the storyline, he's going to put a good product out there, because that's all he knows how to do is to put a really good show in the ring. And their storytelling is just so organic. You can tell that these guys grew up together and all that stuff, because you could feel their family love for one another. You can tell they can just feel each other in the ring. And when you have that type of chemistry, it's almost criminal to let that go without trying to milk it for all it's worth. And I really do like I said, I'd be shocked if Jay takes the title away from Roman, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch the match at Hell in a Cell. They're just both phenomenal with what they're doing.
That would be definitely unexpected.
It would be. I don't know how they would recover. Yeah, I don't know how you would recover from that with the build that you're giving Roman.
Unless Jimmy helps him.
Yeah, but then you're taking away from the heel persona that Roman's building. And it's just, there's not much wiggle room for Jay to win the belt and for them
No,
to.
everybody knows this is kind of a foregone prophecy here. So it's just kind of Jay's getting fed to the dogs again, kind of thing.
Yeah, but he's handling it really well, and I mean, So yeah, he kind of is kind of getting fed to the dogs, or he's sacrificing himself to put Roman over in this heel persona. I think they came to a conclusion early on, in order to do this right, they had to go all in. And in order to be all in, they need everyone in this family line essentially to step up and step to the plate in this and all come together to help build Roman up. And that's really cool to see as far as the off-screen support that Roman's friends and family have given him, and also on screen, just the chemistry that they have. It's really neat to see. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And on to Otis and John Morrison. Otis is just, he's a joy to watch. Yeah, I love Otis. I granted, I don't know if he's going to successfully ever cash in his Money in the Bank. He might be on that short list of people that don't quite make it. I don't see him as someone that's going to be a threat when he comes out.
Maybe he'll be the first person to ever turn his briefcase in for a sandwich at the Subway or something. I could see that happening
too. To get with Mandy again or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You'll get Mandy back and a steak dinner if you give up your your briefcase with the contract in it.
Yeah. But regardless, I really enjoy watching Otis. He's just a bundle of joy.
He just makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly. He's just he's just a real treat. I like his character. I like what they're doing. I like, even if he doesn't successfully cash it in, I don't feel like they've necessarily wasted this Money in the Bank like they have in the past with other people that haven't successfully cashed in, like Damian Sandow and Baron Corbin. I don't think they're necessarily wasting it on Otis, even if he doesn't cash in. I think that
it gives him a reason to be on the main storyline.
Yeah,
because he has the belt, which means gets his character out there that people find very entertaining. So it gives you a reason to watch Otis.
Yeah, and
because the Money in the Bank holder right now is almost like a title holder.
You
got your Universal or World Champion, you got your U.S. Champion. I think the Money in the Bank means more than the U.S. Champion does.
Yeah, it's almost like just a step right under the main event.
Yeah, it's like right under the Intercontinental title. It's just right there. So, I don't know. We'll see. I hope Otis cashes it in, and I think that would be a cool, like, same as Jinder Mahal moment. Give him the belt for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Jinder was a little bit different because he had this massive heel persona, and he really bought into it. So I don't know.
Otis is such a fun-loving guy. I mean,
they'd have to really
completely change after the draft. He could go to Raw.
Yeah, that's where I see him going. I don't. He's not.
I see him and Tucker getting split up.
Yeah. I think Tucker's definitely played his role in this, in Otis's whole career, but
there's no need for them to be a tag team anymore.
Yeah, but as we're talking about it, we're not really talking about Tucker. I mean, Tucker's in these promos.
Sorry, Tucky.
He's just kind of played his part out. And Otis is starting to step to the forefront of that. But I don't see him feuding with Roman or anything like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. WWE's, they can go any direction at any minute. So just because it's not foreseeable right now doesn't mean it won't be. But after this draft that's coming up, for Raw and for SmackDown, we'll start to have a clearer picture of the direction that they're wanting to go after Hell in a Cell. Otis definitely is going to play a big part in that, just because he does have something that they consider so prestigious up there, kind of with the Intercontinental title. Because this Money in the Bank, I mean, it's made a lot of careers, and it's also broken a lot of careers. So
bye Sandow.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the names that first comes to mind. I'm surprised that Baron Corbin recovered from how he did.
Well, I think that was a backstage punishment.
Yeah,
he got a lot of heat backstage, and he kind of did that one to himself.
Yeah,
but he's redeemed himself now. So
yeah, they gave him King of the Ring and stuff like that. So, but anyway, not to
get that god-awful balding hair of his.
Yeah, but John Morrison, obviously, like always, John Morrison's a great worker. He was phenomenal in the match. He really helped Miz and Morrison for all the comedic roles that they play, and how cliche or just stale that they can seem at times. And when you step back and you watch this whole body of work over this storyline, everyone's working so hard to get Otis over and believable. And really, I feel like they paired them with two great heels that know how to get people over, and that's Miz and Morrison. I mean, if anybody can get over, it's Miz. The guy that came from MTV, that came from nothing, Tough Enough, he's just been a dog since day one. He's worked his ass off. So he's really, he got better over the years on the microphone, and he, just like sandpaper, just rubbing him all the time, and now he's polished. So if anybody can get Otis over, I think it's going to be good with the storyline with Miz and everything. So we'll see where it goes. Possibly it might take Otis losing his Money in the Bank contract to Miz, and kind of making it go in that direction, just if they feel like Otis isn't ready yet, but they still want to keep his character and his persona believable without burying him. That might be a way to do it, even though it does unfortunately end with him not having the contract anymore. That doesn't necessarily make or break someone. If you go to cash in your Money in the Bank and then you get beat, I feel like that buries you more than you losing it in a match.
Yeah, because usually it's a guaranteed,
Yeah, exactly. So on to Sheamus and Shorty G. Man, I tell you, they just disrespect Shorty G. Number one, by calling him Shorty G. Number two, they didn't even give him an entrance. Right.
I mean, that they have buried him since him and Jordan split up, and it's just been a constant burial.
But I mean,
I don't want anybody. I want everybody. I love WWE, but I think he would be better fit either in NXT or go to AEW or TNA. Man, come on, Chad Gable, you're a hell of a wrestler. Don't put up this crap anymore.
And he's not bad on the mic either. I don't know what it is.
I don't know why they've been burying him since day one, but
I don't either. Only time will tell.
He could go to NXT or AEW or TNA. All right, he could seriously go to TNA and be a main event guy. Yeah. I mean, he really could. So
I agree. It's just.
I hope he's not just staying because he's making a contract. I hope he really wants to do something in the business. Yeah. And if he does, he needs to go somewhere. Unless he's just happy with making a check. But God, it's heartbreaking.
I was watching SmackDown this week, and I was thinking, I was even talking to my wife about it because she watches with me sometimes, and I was just like, it's just so disrespectful. Like, this dude was in the Olympics, and and you call him Shorty G. Like, he has his own actual wrestling lock in that you use in amateur wrestling or even in jiu-jitsu, the Gable lock. And it's just,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know whose toes he stepped on or what different look he gave Vince one day, or I don't know what it was, but they just absolutely just take every second to just bury this guy when they get a chance.
Chad
And
Gable, I hope you're watching, which I hope anybody's watching. But if you are, go somewhere else. We love you as a wrestler. You're a hell of a wrestler. Get the hell out of there. You ain't Shorty G. You're Chad Gable.
Exactly.
Gable, okay?
Exactly. That's how I feel. But I mean, Sheamus, he's not no slouch either. He's definitely a main event player. I'm ready for Sheamus to get back to the forefront and really do something. I thought he was with Big E and all that stuff. But that's kind of quieted down. That's going to obviously pick up at this next pay-per-view, but I feel like that's something that they're not giving their full attention to that they should, because
they haven't really done anything else.
Yeah, I don't know why though, because Sheamus can be a really good champion. He can be a really great heel. That the time
he had such momentum, Big E did. He had such momentum, and then they just died that off. Now he has zero momentum.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that storyline kind of recovers. But if anybody can do it, it's Sheamus and Big E. I mean, they're true professionals. And that Brogue kick is just it's so devastating looking.
Dude,
feel like a stiff kick, but
if I ever get in a fight again, I'm too old to be fighting, but I want to Brogue kick somebody in the face.
I don't. There must be some padding on the underside of that boot, or I don't know what's going on. But
they just take that right in the mush.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I'm facing Sheamus. I need a mouth guard so I can keep my teeth.
Exactly. I mean, he really sells that. like he enjoys it.
Absolutely.
But I like that they found that move for him. Something that he can, take with him throughout his career. You can, when they gave him that type of finisher, you can tell that they kind of cemented him as a long-term player in that company. Because, when you're 50 or 60 or whatever, you can't put everyone up on your jacket and do the razor
kick somebody in the face.
Right. So,
have you ever tried the chest thing he does? That kind of hurts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give myself a heart attack.
Boundary or whatever it's called. Just working with Sheamus, it's like if wrestling was a dinner or something, like it would be a full meal wrestling Sheamus. You just get beat up.
Get a Brogue kick for dessert.
Yeah, right in the face. At least with a super kick with Shawn Michaels or something like that, it kind of like goes up their head.
No. Yeah, then the Brogue kick's bam.
Brogue kick is right. Like he might kind of faint it on the side of your face, but it doesn't matter. Like it's still coming.
Yeah, you're getting hit with it.
And poor Dolph. He's probably the worst Brogue kicks in history.
But Dolph is always notorious for overselling everything.
Yeah, it works though. Dolph can sell.
It does. I mean, he'll take a regular clothesline and just do like 15 backflips.
I feel like that's kind of just like get off track for a second. That's kind of what, in a way, in my opinion, that's what has held Dolph back in some of the pictures. Like he's just so good at selling and putting people over. They just put him in that role.
Everybody over. Like he'd be one of the ones that if it was in the Royal Rumble and he took a stunner from either Kevin Owens or Stone Cold, they would stunner him and he'd go over the top rope. Yeah.
It'd be like, it'd just be like that moment with Rock when Stone Cold stunned him and he did that like that back, like he pressed himself up and like flipped all the way across.
At least
the
he
ring.
doesn't take it like Vince. That was the worst stunner ever. He just kind of slides off of him.
And just convulsive. Yeah. So, and on to the KO show featuring Alexa Bliss. I hope.
Let me in.
Right. I hope that this storyline takes, and I hope that it's given the time and the direction. Now, I know KO is in this kind of feud with Aleister Black, but I wouldn't mind finishing that feud and then just have KO just leave that.
Yeah, because that feud's really not going to get him any kind of main event status, at least with the Fiend. And let me tell you guys this. So my wife has not seen the Fiend very much. Like, she saw like pictures of it and stuff, but this was like the first time that she actually saw him on TV.
And he was like drooling and stuff. If you look real closely, you can see the in his mouth.
That was very scary to her. Like, people that don't watch this a lot, this is a frightening character. They have something with this. But I would like to see him versus Kevin Owens, because the Aleister Black thing's not going to go very far. It's not going to be a main event deal. But if you've got the Fiend, that kind of character, it's going to be a main event deal, no matter what. Especially with Alexa Bliss in the picture now. You've got enough big-name players in the pot. You could do something big with that.
Yeah, you can take it in just about any direction you want. So
exactly.
I'm looking forward to them putting a bow on Aleister Black and KO. And then KO gets drafted to SmackDown. And we see the KO show on Friday nights. And I think this is a really good feud. Again, WWE, commend them for putting a certain body type and a certain image out there. When you have guys like this.
The only thing is, I wish they would have had people like this for when we were kids and during Halloween. It'd been easier for me to dress up like Kevin Owens. I was the kid walking around on Halloween that was dressed up like the obese Sting, I was fat Sting. I look like Bam Bam Bigelow dressed up like Sting. So I wish they would have had these guys back when I was a kid.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
That kid's not Sting. He looked like he ate Sting.
Speaking of Sting masks, don't scare your parents with masks on. I almost got shot one night when I was little.
There. I remember.
Yeah. It was a crazy night.
Your dad pulled out the old nightstand revolver on you.
Yeah. So just a little background. So we went to a house show, WCW. They came to town, and we went to a show. It was a dark house show, or whatever you want to call it. Got some Sting masks. Yeah. We got the Wolfpack Sting masks. So it would be a great idea to walk into my parents' room with the mask on and then tell them I was home, but get a little reaction because I was like hyped up from the matches and all that stuff. And
go in hollering like, oh!
And I got met with the Second Amendment, like for sure. Definitely.
We don't call law around here. We are the law.
Right. My dad being an ex police officer, he has guns.
And scary dude.
And seeing someone in your doorway with a red and black mask on, I mean,
that looks like the Crow.
Yeah, I don't blame him for reacting that way. But it was an eye-opening moment on what not to do. And also,
I can hear your dad's New York accent right now. What the hell are you thinking, John?
All right, it's awful. Never do that. Never do that. Learn the hard way.
Shout out to Mr. C. Love you, big man.
So on to the meat of that promo, and that's Alexa Bliss and what she's doing with Fiend. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if you guys remember, but in a pay-per-view last year, they foreshadowed this type of turn with Alexa Bliss at a pay-per-view, and they even did it with Braun here recently.
At WrestleMania.
They did it again.
God, this has been like the longest storyline that has not come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been almost a year, or probably right at a year now, that they've been teasing this.
And I feel like now's the time to do it because of the Fiend persona. It gives that character so much believability, and if that's a word, if I could use that.
That's a word.
In any direction that they want to go, the Fiend just takes it to the next level. He's this larger-than-life character. He's like this generation's, I don't want to sound blasphemous, but he's this generation kind of like Undertaker. That's why he lost the Universal title, because I compare Fiend a lot to Undertaker. Not that they're any
shock factor. It's the scary factor. It's this is supernatural and not of this world kind of character. So that's what you get.
Yeah, exactly. And I just like where they're going with Bray can sell just about anything. So just to see him take to this role and see Alexa Bliss finally come into this part. I don't know if she's going to be the quote unquote Sister Abigail, since she uses the move and that's the name of the move. I don't see her taking on that persona like we thought she was going to take. But I do like that they're bringing her into the picture with it. And I don't know what they're going to do or where they're going to take it. But I do like what they're doing. And I hope that they bring Kevin Owens in on the storyline.
I think that'd be a good way to kick it off.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Very aggressive matches between those two.
Yes, for sure. And that mandible claw is fierce, man. It is fierce. I wasn't a huge fan of it in the beginning. I mean, because when you say mandible claw, it's mankind. I mean, that's
right off the bat. And that was such a different move back in '96.
Yeah.
Mankind did it when he had the black tape around his two middle fingers, and when he did that, it looked like you were torturing somebody. That didn't look like a normal finishing move. It looked like he was trying to murder somebody, Yeah. And that audible screaming, he would let off while he was doing it. It was so crazy back then, but it kind of fits the persona with Bray. I mean, he's a very, I don't want to say demonic, but he's a very, he's a very off, out of this world, off the wall kind of character. So,
and if you listen, at least in this instance, when he puts the claw on Kevin Owens, he does make that little squeal this week. Yeah. And he's like he got his other hand, and he's like really pushing down on it and everything.
And if you notice, he uses the glove that says "hurt."
Yeah.
And he'll kind of, and he grabbed the other hand for Alexa that said "heel" on it. So there is a mindset behind all that, and that's one thing I like about Bray Wyatt. He's got the psychology down.
Yeah, and he's had it since day one.
Absolutely.
For some reason, I don't know. They just didn't know what to do with him in the beginning. But he's shown through.
Oh, and by the way, you can buy one of those the lanterns on WWE Shop with his head. I want one of those for Halloween.
So on to Matt Riddle and his feud with Baron Corbin, and also Lucha House Party and that kerfuffle.
Yeah.
That's going on with Lucha House Party.
That's Chad Lack kerfuffle approved.
Yeah, right. I don't know what they're doing with Lucha House Party, but I just hope they know that we're not interested.
And I'm not interested. If I hear Matt Riddle say "bro" one more time,
I know, right? It's painful.
Can we see him fight Goldberg like in a legit fight, and then he has to go away when he gets beat by Goldberg? I mean, because that's what I want to see.
I don't know, man. Matt Riddle shows some skills in the ring. I don't necessarily like his.
Matt Riddle's a legit MMA fighter, but he is annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Like him and Sami Zayn could make they used to have the greatest tag team in the world. They could be the most annoying tag team in the world.
I feel like that persona would serve better as a heel. It's
yes,
just
it would.
at least that's how I naturally am taking to it. I just don't.
He's not a babyface guy. I mean, especially the way he talks on Twitter and all that stuff, he would be more.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hide that stuff. I mean, yes, kayfabe is kind of dead, but at the same time, you have this guy.
He's actually in real life, he's a heel, but on the show, he's a babyface.
Yeah.
So why don't you just make him a heel?
Exactly.
Like he's an asshole in real life. Like just let him play the asshole. Let him be himself.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, if you go back and look at his tweets, I don't know if he was living kayfabe or if that's how he really is, but he can put on that heel persona for sure, especially if that's how he really is. But still, I don't love the match. Well, I mean, the match itself was good because they're all really good workers. Shinsuke and Cesaro, Baron Corbin, Lucha House Party. Obviously, they have a lot of talent in that stable.
Yeah, but I wish they would foreclose on the Lucha House Party.
Yeah. But what Matt Riddle's on mic skills and character development, he makes up for in working in the ring, and he almost looks effortless when he does put on a really good show inside the ring. Just how he's taken to the business and the moves and all that stuff. It was really good. And then we come with Carmella returning. And really, that's really all I'm going to say. I mean,
she's a heel. I mean, that's all it really said is that was the most elaborate, unnecessary heel turn ever.
I mean, unless she's gotten better in the ring, not to diminish anything she's done, but I'm just not interested.
No, I mean, she was really. I enjoyed her when she was with R-Truth, but she was with R-Truth. I mean, R-Truth makes an imaginary friend over.
Yeah, little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy. Hey, we got super stoked last week when little Jimmy came back at Clash of Champions. We were super excited about it. So, and then, I mean, if you get imaginary people over, you can get anybody over. That's what R-Truth.
It's just insane. But
little Jimmy doesn't exist, and he has more WWE fans than I
do. That's true. So moving on. So Sasha Banks made an appearance, and surprise, her neck's not really hurt. We've seen that when she's bobbing her head in the other previous week.
When she was doing her promo with the neck brace, she was doing all this and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're going to slip a disc.
Right. Not acting how someone that got a chair slammed on their neck would necessarily react.
I mean, I have no acting skills whatsoever, but I can do a promo without moving my head. I mean, you do like this and like, oh, my neck. Don't be putting all the attitude in the neck and all that stuff.
Right. Granted, when you run out of ideas, it's never a bad thing to rely on Sasha and Bailey or Becky and Charlotte or something like that. Something that you know is going to.
Those are your proven women in the division.
Yeah, especially when
they can draw a crowd.
Yeah, especially with each other, they can tell a story and all that stuff. They're just really good in the ring together, and
I mean. You put them two together, it's magic. I mean, Brooklyn Takeover, the match between Sasha and Bailey.
Yeah.
Holy crap, what a match.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these girls that are coming up in NXT, you guys need to watch that match because that's how you put on a pay-per-view match. That was ridiculously good. That's not in my top 10 of women's matches. That is in my top 10 of matches in general. I mean, that was a great match.
It was.
So anytime you put them two together, it's magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. And that definitely, it shines through in this, and it takes away from Bailey not being a great heel.
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind of amped it up, and I like the direction they're going because just where it wasn't working, so they had to take it up a next level. But you know, I like the look. I like the mean streak, the seriousness that she's trying to put on, but it just still seems she's just a nice person. You know, it's
Yeah.
really it's like, you know, like Apollo Crews trying to be in the hurt business. It just doesn't work. But you know, whatever. It's at the same time it's refreshing because it's better than, you know, her side pigtail hugging everybody type of thing. Yeah. So it was either this or Sasha being the heel, you know. So
And
either
she's
way,
been healed so many times.
yeah. I actually thought it was going to be Sasha, the one that's going to turn on Bailey. So to have it kind of switch up that way is a little bit different. So we'll see where it goes. And then moving on to our main event, we got Sami Zayn and Jeff Hardy for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm glad to see Jeff back and working to his regular standards. I just, you know, it's never good when someone falls prey to their demons in general, but
he's done a lot through his career too.
Yeah, somebody with just so much talent in what they do that's so perfect for the business that they're in, and then have that happen.
I've been a Jeff Hardy fan his entire career. I'll never give up on Jeff, but I'm glad he's starting to get all of his demons finally in check. I mean, he had a really bad stint when he was in TNA with them, and I know he's starting to kind of backslide a little bit, but hopefully he's done with all that stuff because that's just too much talent to be wasted on his return. And I want to see him finish his career at WWE. I don't want to see him go anywhere else.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to see him ended on a high note, not because his contract ran out and they didn't
I want to see him get the Ric Flair treatment when he retires. I want him to see him have the big WrestleMania match and get put into the Hall of Fame the night before or the next year or whatever.
Yeah.
I want him to have that moment because all the crap that he's put his body through.
For us. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and part of those demons come from, you know, how he's put his body on the line for our entertainment, you know, and the pain
exactly. I mean, that's part of
it.
Yeah, I mean, he did all this crap to entertain us, and the reason that he did have a pill problem and alcohol problem is because he's jumped off 60-foot or 40-foot ladders or whatever, and you know, been speared off from a hanging belt by Edge and done swantons from big ladders onto another ladder. You know,
I mean, just like at Clash of Champions, you know.
And no offense, Sami Zayn, but we're talking about Hardy because he can draw a crowd and you can't draw a picture. But,
I like Sami in this role a lot more than I like him as a baby face, just because there's really not much.
Again, though, change his stinking entrance music. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
He's the liberator. Give him some kind of weird, like, other music. Don't give him this happy, you know, crap. Just get rid of it. Hell, it'd be better off if he didn't have any music at all than the crap that he's coming out to now.
Yeah.
Set the picture.
But he can definitely put on a show. That's for sure. He definitely knows his way around the ring.
Yeah, I mean, he's a worker. He's a hell of a worker.
Mm-hmm. And he's a great annoying heel. Yeah. Whatever he's trying to do, it works as far as, like, you keep me tuned in, but at the same time, like, I don't want to see you anymore.
No, I want to reach through the TV screen and choke you to sleep.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
So, I mean, it's working, and I like his...
If I could brogue kick anybody, I'd pick him.
Yeah. I'd definitely like to see Sheamus and Sami Zayn go at it.
Yeah.
The haluba kick.
That's the only move he does. It's just 25 minutes of Sami Zayn getting brogue kicked. And then he gets beat by Sheamus, and on his way up the ramp, he gets Claymore kicked by Drew McIntyre. Just
and then somehow fit a Shawn Michaels.
Kicking him in the face.
Yeah. Somehow fit Shawn Michaels in there to kick him too.
He gets super kicked then. Yeah. And then Randy Orton catches him backstage and then punts him in the head. You know, he just constantly getting kicked in the face and then the side of the head.
Yeah.
We just booked your WrestleMania match, Zane. You can thank us later.
All right, so on to now our preview for the pay-per-view that has already started.
Yeah, it started about an hour and 10 minutes ago.
So we're probably going to preview some matches that are already over with. Not probably, we are going to.
But we haven't seen them yet, and we'll watch them in a little bit. But we have to play the pay-per-view backwards.
Yeah, exactly. But we will be after we preview this pay-per-view. We'll be back.
We may not be on right after, but we'll be on as soon as we get done watching it.
Yeah. So to preview the card, we got Kushida and Velveteen Dream. And then we got the Cruiserweight Championship from 205, Santos Escobar and Isaiah Scott. And then moving on to the North American Championship, Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. And then the NXT Women's Championship, Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. And then finishing out the night, of course, the NXT Championship match, Finn Balor or Prince, whatever persona he decides to come to the ring with, and Kyle O'Reilly. So, yeah, Undisputed Era probably make a stop in there. So we'll start with the beginning. So Kushida and Velveteen Dream. I'm a big fan of Dream. Anytime he's in the ring or on the card,
he's got a great character.
Yeah, I like it. And you can tell when he was on Tough Enough, he had that work ethic to develop a character and to, no matter how dumb it might have seemed in the beginning, Velveteen Dream is over as far as a character, in my opinion. And that just speaks volumes about how far he had to go with that character, how much work he had to put in with that character, because it was really easy for that type of persona to just be written off, like Macho Man meets Gold Dust meets, something. Yeah, just something like that. But he's a really good worker. Kushida is really, really good in the ring too, so I expect that to be
more of an intense character right now. So and it was brought on because of Velveteen. So we'll see how it goes. This one could go either way, but I'm going Velveteen.
We'll see. I'm a pick Velveteen too if we're gonna do picks.
Might as well. Let's do picks.
Yeah, might as well.
Everybody's got their opinion anyway.
The Cruiserweight Championship match with Escobar and Isaiah Scott.
Swerve Scott. Get it right, Isaiah. Swerve Scott.
I really like Escobar. I mean, he's done a heck of a lot of nice work, and I know Chad's a really big fan of Isaiah Scott. So this match just has classic written all over it.
This is probably going to be, I know the main event's going to be the match of the night, or it should be.
Yeah.
If it's not, this match will be. This is going to be if you don't watch TakeOver for any other reason, watch this match. Isaiah Swerve Scott is one of the best in-ring workers I've ever seen come out of the Indies in a long time. So keep your eyes on this one, guys.
And I really like where Escobar is taking the whole anointed lucha historian kind of role and bringing what he feels like, or he has more knowledge than either one of us do in the lucha style and the persona, but how he's bringing that to the forefront, and how he's even talked in some of his promos that lucha isn't just like the high flying stuff that we see. It's more than just that, and he's bringing some sort of a different type of feel, a different type of look for that style, and he's doing a really good job in representing it. and I really enjoy the work that he does. And then moving on after that, we got the North American Championship, Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano. Johnny Takeover. He is fantastic. He's great in the ring. I like where he's going with this heel persona. I mean, if you're that good in the ring, I mean, you got to be a little cocky, a little full of yourself. So I really like where Takeover is taking this role and this persona. Obviously, to push Damian Priest, they're trying to build up this character. Now, granted, I think Johnny's going to win, but I think this is going to be Damian Priest's like coming out party. He was great in the ladder match and all that stuff, but I think this is where they're going to showcase what he can do. And I'm excited to see where they take this because Johnny Gargano is phenomenal. Like I already said, I can't say enough good things about it. But the work that he's done since he's been in NXT, I mean, it's great. He's got a great body of work. And then moving on to the NXT Women's Championship, got Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. Again, I think Team Gargano is going to win the belts for the night, so I see Candice winning. But I also see them putting on a really good match. You saw on SmackDown their intergender tag team match. It was a really nice preview to what we may or may not see tonight at Takeover. I really do enjoy the work that all four of those people can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's in my opinion. I see Candice winning, and I see Johnny winning, and then becoming the first couple of WWE or whatever they want to call it. I really feel like they can.
That's going to be a cool storyline to go through. I mean,
yeah, and, they can really use those belts to carry the mid card of NXT. In my opinion, not to say that the women's championship is the mid card title, but wherever they're going to put it, if they. I feel like
she's a veteran. She deserves the title. She's been doing it for a long time, and she's been really good at what she does for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. And then to the final match of the night, we got Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly, and possibly Undisputed Era. Adam Cole does a Shining Wizard, or the Last Shot, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It'll always be a Shining Wizard, but we'll see if that makes an appearance. But I think this match has, like Chad said, match of the night written all over it. But if it's not, definitely the Escobar match. But this is, to me, it's got match of the night written all over it. It's going to be really great, and hopefully it lives up to the hype that we're giving it. It's probably on right now. But we've enjoyed just talking wrestling with you.
Absolutely.
I
look forward to this every week.
So what do you think, Chad? Do you think Kyle's going to walk away with it? Do you think the prophecy is going to be fulfilled? Do you think the Prince returns?
I don't think they're going to do it this soon. They just put the belt back on Balor. Unless they're going to have a back and forth between the Undisputed and Balor, I don't think they're going to take it off of him yet. Kyle deserves a title. I mean, if nothing else, put the North American Championship on him. Lord, he's been kicking the crap out of people for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I don't see him winning the NXT Championship right now. Not taking it from Balor. If anybody else had it, yes, I would say that he'd be the champion. But they're not going to do Balor lose it in his first defense. I don't see that happening. They just bury the Prince character right then if he loses it in his first defense.
I agree. Or another way to do it, if Undisputed Era really is back, obviously you have to take on that heel persona. So what do heels do? They interfere in matches. So I see I see Kyle O'Reilly with Adam Cole's promo that he did this week on NXT. I feel like there's a little bit of foreshadowing, meaning that UE is back. But what does that mean? Well, that means probably that their old persona, like they're hungry. They're not over, whatever they have to tell themselves to get that edge. I feel like they've gotten a little comfortable, and this is going to be their redirecting of the spotlight back on
them.
Hey,
and also another way of thought here too. Kyle O'Reilly's got a shot for the belt. Maybe Adam Cole gets jealous and costs him the win.
Yeah,
Adam Cole's a jealous heel anyway. Maybe he costs O'Reilly the win, and maybe that starts a new feud, with the OE, with them two. So,
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, that's just from history of watching wrestling before. Factions eventually break up, so maybe it's the start of. I mean, UE's been going for 3 years now.
Yeah,
4 years, something like that. But it's been going strong. Maybe it's time to break somebody from it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the outcome of this match tonight will. I mean, if Adam Cole does what you think he's going to do, or if Undisputed Era and Kyle O'Reilly go back to just really solid heels, that it can only end properly in a couple of ways. Either Undisputed Era comes in and helps Kyle O'Reilly win it, or Finn retains, or like you said, Adam Cole could turn into that jealous heel and kind of break that faction up. With depending on how they end that match, I feel like we'll set up the main players for NXT that could be leaving NXT, and you bringing up the point that Adam Cole could play the jealous heel and cost Kyle O'Reilly a belt shot. I mean, that could be a preview to seeing Adam Cole getting called up to another roster spot. Well, I know it's not technically a call up now since NXT is one of the 3 main brands now, but still we have to acknowledge that NXT's still kind of the project.
Developmental.
Yeah. But Adam Cole, in my opinion, is ready for prime time or whatever you want to call it. So if anybody's going to spoil this thing for Kyle O'Reilly, I see it being Adam Cole being the one that can do something like that. And then getting drafted and then going on and do his own thing until they feel like Kyle's ready to move up or something like that. But yeah, so that's our preview on Takeover tonight. I know it's already probably halfway over, so we'll get
out there and start watching it so we can do
start watching. Yes, we have a post show for you guys. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in a little while then for the recap for Takeover.
Takeover, guys.
Yeah, guys. Peace.